A human's bond. First contact with the Titans. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the New Horizons station, watching the massive Titanian ship approach. At 3 kilometers long, the vessel dwarfed humanity's largest spacecraft. Its crystalline surface refracted starlight in mesmerizing patterns, a testament to technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. "Commander, they're requesting permission to dock," Lieutenant Park's voice crackled through her comm. "Their ambassador wishes to meet with you personally." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. As humanity's chosen representative for first contact with the Titanians, she carried the weight of Earth's future on her shoulders. The giant crystalline beings had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 months ago, and after careful communication, had finally agreed to face-to-face talks. "Grant them clearance," she replied, "and notify the welcoming committee. I'll meet them in Hangar Bay 3. The station's corridors buzzed with nervous energy as Sarah made her way to the hangar. Scientists, diplomats, and security personnel moved with purposeful urgency, all aware of the historical significance of this moment. Dr. James Morrison, the station's chief xenobiologist, fell into step beside her. "Remember," he said, adjusting his glasses, "the Titanians evolved in a high-gravity environment. They stand roughly 12 feet tall in Earth gravity, with crystalline external structures that serve as both armor and communication devices." Sarah nodded, having memorized every scrap of information about their visitors. "And they communicate through light patterns as well as sound. The translation matrices are ready, tested and operational, though they've demonstrated remarkable proficiency in learning Earth languages." The hangar bay doors opened to reveal a scene of organized chaos. Engineers scrambled to adjust the massive docking clamps, while medical teams stood by with specialized equipment. The security detail, led by Captain Marcus Wong, maintained a respectful but vigilant presence. When the Titanian ship completed its docking sequence, Sarah felt the deck vibrate beneath her feet. The airlock cycled, releasing a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Then, ducking through the oversized doorway, came the most extraordinary being Sarah had ever seen. Ambassador Zixtol stood nearly 4 meters tall, their crystalline body refracting light in complex patterns. The translator interpreted these as a formal greeting. "Commander Chen, we bring enlightenment and seek understanding." Sarah stepped forward, maintaining eye contact with the being's central sensor cluster. "Ambassador Zixtol, Earth welcomes you in peace and friendship." The practiced words felt inadequate in the face of such majesty. The ambassador's surface rippled with colors. "Your bravery is noted, small one. Many species find our presence overwhelming." There was something like amusement in the translated tone. "Size isn't everything, Ambassador," Sarah replied with a small smile. "Humanity has learned that lesson well through our own history." This earned her a cascade of golden light that the translator interpreted as laughter. "Indeed, perhaps that is why we chose your species for contact. You understand that strength takes many forms." As they walked to the conference room, Sarah noticed how the ambassador adjusted their movements to avoid damaging the station's infrastructure. Despite their imposing size, there was a grace to their actions that spoke of advanced civilization and careful consideration. The real surprise came during the initial briefing. The Titanians, it seemed, hadn't chosen Earth by chance. "Your species intrigues us," Zixtol explained, their crystal surface pulsing with deep blue light. While others in this sector sought to destroy what they feared, humans consistently attempted communication first. "Even now, your heart rate indicates anxiety, yet you stand before us without visible fear." "We've learned that fear shouldn't prevent exploration or understanding," Sarah responded. "Though I admit, this is testing that philosophy." The ambassador's surface shimmered with what the translator indicated was appreciation. "Then you are prepared for our proposal. We seek more than diplomatic relations, Commander. We offer a chance for true understanding, a biological and technological merger that could advance both our species." The room fell silent. Dr. Morrison dropped his tablet. Captain Wang's hand instinctively moved toward his weapon. A merger? Sarah asked carefully. Could you elaborate? Zixtal's body emitted a complex pattern of light. We propose a bonding program. Selected humans would undergo a process to interface directly with our crystalline matrix. They would become bridges between our species, able to understand both forms of existence. However, their lights dimmed slightly. The process has risks. The few other species we've encountered found it too frightening to attempt. Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. This wasn't just first contact anymore. This was a chance to fundamentally change humanity's place in the galaxy. Her mind raced with the implications, the potential benefits, and the terrifying risks. Before we discuss this further, she said firmly, I need to understand everything about this process, and I volunteer to be the first candidate. Captain Wang stepped forward. Commander, I must object. Noted, Captain, Sarah cut him off, keeping her eyes on Zixtal. But if we're asking others to take this risk eventually, leadership must go first. The ambassador's crystalline surface erupted in a dazzling display of colors. Your species continues to surprise us, Commander Chen. Perhaps we were right to choose Earth after all. As the details were discussed and plans made, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if she just volunteered for humanity's greatest advancement, or its most spectacular disaster. Either way, there would be no turning back from this moment. The first step toward humanity's cosmic evolution had begun, and Sarah Chen would be leading the way into this uncertain future. A human's bond, the price of understanding. The preparation chamber hummed with alien technology as Sarah Chen underwent her pre-bonding diagnostics. 3 weeks had passed since her bold volunteer declaration, weeks filled with endless medical tests, psychological evaluations, and heated debates among Earth's leadership. Your vital signs are stable, Dr. Morrison reported, studying the holographic readouts floating above his station. Though I'm still concerned about the neural stress indicators. His face showed the strain of countless sleepless nights spent studying Titanian physiology. Sarah lay on the modified medical bed, various sensors attached to her body. Any word from the other volunteers? After her decision, 5 other humans had stepped forward, a physicist, a linguist, 2 military officers, and surprisingly, a poet. Lieutenant Rodriguez had to withdraw. Captain Wang answered from his security post. His psych evaluation showed potential compatibility issues. He'd barely left Sarah's side since the program began, his protective instincts warring with his duty to support her decision. A shimmer of light announced Ambassador Zixtal's arrival. The massive crystalline being had to angle themselves carefully to enter the chamber. Commander Chen, today's scans show promising neural plasticity. Your mind seems naturally receptive to our resonance patterns. Sarah watched the play of light across the ambassador's surface, finding she could now recognize some basic emotional patterns without the translator. Tell me again about the first phase, she requested, wanting to hear it one more time. Zixtal's lights pulsed in a teaching pattern. The initial bonding creates a crystalline matrix within your cerebral cortex. These structures are microscopically small, but will allow you to perceive and process our form of communication. The process is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, Sarah repeated with a slight smile. Like a headache uncomfortable, or like being struck by lightning uncomfortable. The ambassador's surface rippled with what she now recognized as concern. Your species uses humor to mask fear, an interesting coping mechanism. Just trying to maintain perspective, Sarah replied. When do we begin? The answer came in the form of 2 more Titanian scientists entering the chamber, their crystalline bodies containing specialized equipment within their matrix. The larger of the 2 spoke through the translator. We are prepared to commence. Commander Chen, you may experience intense sensory input. We will proceed in stages to allow your neural pathways to adapt. Sarah took a deep breath and nodded. I'm ready. The first sensation was like ice water being poured directly into her brain. She gasped, her back arching slightly off the bed. Colors she had no names for exploded behind her eyes. Neural pathways responding, one of the Titanian scientists reported that a surface flickering rapidly, beginning crystal seeding process. The ice in Sarah's mind turned to fire. She could hear Dr. Morrison shouting something about elevated brain activity, could feel Captain Wong's hand gripping hers, but these sensations seemed to come from very far away. What filled her world instead was light, impossible, beautiful, terrible light. She could feel the crystalline structures forming in her brain, each one a new point of awareness. The pain was extraordinary, but so was the understanding that came with it. For a brief moment, she could sense the Titanians as they sensed themselves. Vast lattices of living crystal, each light pattern a thought, each resonance a feeling. The complexity of it threatened to overwhelm her. Secondary matrix stabilizing, someone said, though Sarah couldn't tell if she heard it with her ears or her new awareness. Beginning final phase. The world exploded again, this time in patterns of pure information. Sarah saw, felt, heard the history of the Titanian species, glimpses of their homeworld, the vast crystal cities that sang with thought and purpose. She understood now why they had sought out humanity. They had seen in Earth's chaotic, organic life something that ordered crystalline existence lacked. When the process finally ended, Sarah found herself gasping on the bed, tears streaming down her face. But they weren't tears of pain. "Commander," Dr. Morrison's worried face swam into view. "Can you hear me?" "Aye." Sarah started to respond, then realized she was simultaneously emanating patterns of light from somewhere inside her mind. The nearby instruments went crazy, recording the first human-generated Titanian communication. Ambassador Zixtol moved closer, their massive form radiating what Sarah now understood was joy. "The bonding is successful. You are broadcasting clearly, but your patterns are uniquely human." Sarah slowly sat up, supported by Captain Wong. The world looked different now. She could see the subtle energy fields around everything, could sense the complex thoughts of the Titanians in the room as patterns of light and resonance. "How do you feel?" Captain Wong asked, his concern evident in both his voice and the faint energy field she could now perceive around him. "Like someone rewrote my user manual," Sarah answered, her voice shaky but amused. "But I understand now. I understand so much." She turned to Zixtol, consciously projecting light patterns as she spoke. "Your people were right to reach out to us. We have so much to learn from each other." The ambassador's surface erupted in complex patterns that Sarah now recognized as profound satisfaction. "This is only the beginning, Commander. You are the first bridge between our species, but if successful, you will not be the last." Dr. Morrison was rapidly taking notes. "The crystalline structures seem to have integrated perfectly with your neural pathways. We're recording both standard brain activity and what appears to be Titanian resonance patterns. It's extraordinary." Sarah nodded, then winced as the movement sent new cascades of sensation through her enhanced awareness. "It's going to take some getting used to. Everything is so bright." "Rest now," Zixtol advised. "Your mind must adjust to its new capabilities. Tomorrow, we begin your true training." As the medical team fussed over her and Captain Wong arranged security protocols for her recovery, Sarah closed her eyes, but her new awareness couldn't be shut off so easily. She could sense the station humming around her, could feel the thoughts of the Titanians as patterns of light and energy. She had taken the first step into a larger universe, and there would be no going back. The question now was how many others would follow her across this bridge between species. The future of human-Titanian relations rested on her successful adaptation to these changes. Sarah Chen, the first human to truly understand the crystalline beings, had become something entirely new, neither fully human nor Titanian, but a hybrid of both. And this was only the beginning. Evolution's edge. 1 month after the bonding procedure, Sarah Chen stood in the zero-gravity training chamber, surrounded by floating crystalline structures. Her new abilities had grown stronger, but so had the challenges that came with them. Focus on the resonance patterns, Zixtal instructed, their massive form hovering nearby. Let your enhanced consciousness guide the formation. Sarah concentrated, feeling the microscopic crystals in her brain humming in harmony with her thoughts. Small fragments of crystal in the chamber began to move, joining together in complex patterns that mirrored her mental image. It was like conducting an orchestra with her mind, each piece finding its place in a greater symphony. Remarkable progress, Dr. Morrison observed from the control room, his voice coming through both the speakers and as a faint ripple in Sarah's crystal-enhanced perception. The level of control you're developing over external crystalline structures is beyond our initial projections. But something was wrong. As Sarah manipulated the crystals, she felt a sharp pain lance through her head. The floating crystal formation shattered, pieces scattering across the chamber. She doubled over, grabbing her temples. Neural spike detected, one of the Titanian scientists announced, their surface flickering with concern. The integration is becoming unstable. Captain Wang's voice cut through the chaos. Shut it down. Now. As the medical team rushed in, Sarah waved them off. I'm fine, she managed, though the pain was still intense. Just pushed too hard. Dr. Morrison's scans told a different story. The crystalline structures in your brain are growing, he reported grimly. They're expanding beyond the initial integration points. Ambassador Zixtal moved closer, their massive form emanating patterns of deep concern that Sarah could now read clearly. This was an anticipated possibility, though we hoped human physiology would be more resistant. What do you mean, anticipated? Captain Wang demanded, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. You knew this could happen. The ambassador's surface rippled with complex emotions. The bond is not static, it evolves. In previous attempts with other species, this evolution proved problematic. Sarah stood straight despite the pain, fixing the ambassador with a hard stare. Define problematic. The answer came in a burst of crystalline communication that bypassed words entirely, images and sensations of other avian species who had attempted the bond, their minds and bodies gradually transformed by the growing crystal matrices until they were neither their original species nor truly Titanian. Why didn't you tell us? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Would you have proceeded if you knew? Zixtal countered. We believe humanity's unique adaptability might yield different results, and we still believe this. You have already shown greater stability than any previous subject. Dr. Morrison was rapidly analyzing the new data. The crystal growth appears to be accelerating. At this rate, he trailed off, looking at Sarah with concern. How long? She asked quietly. Without intervention, maybe 2 weeks before the changes become irreversible. We need to remove the crystals before. No, Sarah interrupted. Everyone in the room turned to stare at her. We're not removing anything. Captain Wang stepped forward. Commander, with all due respect, this isn't a death sentence, Sarah explained, wincing as another wave of pain hit her. It's an evolution. The crystals aren't just growing, they're adapting, becoming something new, just like me. She demonstrated by reaching out with her enhanced senses, connecting with the scattered crystal fragments in the chamber. They rose and began to orbit around her in a complex dance. I'm not losing control, I'm gaining more of it. The pain comes when I fight the changes. Ambassador Zixtal's surface erupted in patterns of astonishment. Impossible. You are consciously directing the integration. Not directing, Sarah corrected. Cooperating with it. The crystals aren't trying to take over, they're trying to achieve balance. Previous attempts failed because the subjects resisted the change. But humans, she smiled despite the pain, we adapt. It's what we do best. Dr. Morrison's scanners confirmed her theory. The crystal structures are indeed forming new patterns, ones we haven't seen before. They're creating a true hybrid architecture, neither human nor Titanian. The implications were staggering. Sarah wasn't just surviving the bond, she was evolving it into something entirely new. The pain in her head was already lessening, as she stopped fighting the changes and started working with them. "The other volunteers need to know the risks," she said firmly, "but they also need to know the possibilities. We're not just building bridges between our species anymore, we're becoming the next step in both our evolutions." Ambassador Zixtal moved closer, their crystalline surface shimmering with what Sarah now recognized as hope. "In all our centuries of exploration, we never considered this outcome. We sought to elevate other species to our level of existence, but perhaps we needed to evolve as well." Sarah nodded, watching the crystals dance around her with growing confidence. "That's the thing about bridges," she said. "They don't just connect 2 points, they create an entirely new path." The next few hours were filled with tests and discussions. The remaining volunteers were briefed on the new developments. 2 withdrew, but 3 stayed, even more committed after seeing Sarah's transformation. Dr. Morrison and his team worked frantically to document and understand the changes happening in Sarah's brain. As the day ended, Sarah stood at her favorite observation window, watching Earth spin below. The crystalline structures in her mind hummed in harmony with the station's systems, and for the first time since the bonding, she felt truly at peace with what she was becoming. Captain Wong joined her at the window. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. Sarah turned to him, knowing he could see the faint crystalline shimmer that had begun to appear in her eyes. "No," she admitted, "but I'm sure it's necessary. Humanity's next great leap was never going to be easy." She placed her hand against the window, watching as tiny crystals formed and reformed around her fingers. "We're about to become something new, Marcus. Not better, not worse, just different, ready to face a bigger universe." The crystals caught the starlight, sending rainbow patterns dancing across the observation deck. Something new was being born on the New Horizon station, something that would change both humanity and the Titanians forever. And Sarah Chen, no longer entirely human, but not quite anything else either, would lead the way. The breaking point. 6 weeks into the transformation, crisis struck the New Horizon station. Sarah Chen was in her modified quarters, practicing crystal manipulation, when the first alarm sounded. The station's lights flickered, and through her enhanced senses, she felt a wave of discord ripple through the crystalline networks. "Emergency in Engineering Section D," the AI announced. "Critical system failure detected." Sarah was moving before the announcement finished, her partially crystallized body allowing her to process information at unprecedented speeds. Through the crystal matrix, she could feel the station's pain. A rupture in one of the experimental hybrid power cores that combined human and Titanian technology. "Commander," Captain Wang's voice crackled through her comm, "we've got a situation. The containment field is failing." "I know," Sarah responded, both verbally and in crystal speak. "I can feel it. Get everyone out of there. I'm on my way." She ran through the corridors, her transformed physiology allowing her to move with inhuman grace. The crystals that now covered about 30% of her body glowed with internal light, reacting to her heightened emotional state. 2 of the other volunteers who had undergone the bonding procedure, Dr. Emily Patel and Lieutenant Michael Rodriguez, fell into step beside her. "The core's resonance patterns are chaotic," Emily reported, her own crystalline formations pulsing with concern. "It's like the human and Titanian technologies are fighting each other." They reached engineering just as Ambassador Zixtal arrived with a team of Titanian scientists. The massive crystalline beings had to duck to enter the corridor, their surfaces flickering with urgent communication patterns. "The merger is destabilizing," Zixtal announced. "Our attempts to integrate our power systems with your technology have created an unexpected reaction." Sarah pushed forward, her enhanced senses reeling from the discord emanating from behind the sealed doors. The containment chamber beyond held one of humanity's first attempts to merge their fusion technology with Titanian crystal power systems. Now that merger was tearing itself apart. "Everyone else clear out," Sarah ordered. "I need to get in there." "Absolutely not," Captain Wong protested. "The radiation levels won't affect me the same way anymore. Sarah cut him off. "The crystals provide protection, and I'm the only one who can sense both aspects of the technology clearly enough to stabilize it." Before anyone could stop her, Sarah placed her hand on the security panel. Her crystalline structures interfaced directly with the station's systems, overriding the lockdown. The door slid open, releasing a wave of energy that made normal humans step back, but merely caused her crystal formations to shimmer. Inside, the hybrid power core was a maelstrom of conflicting energies. The human-designed fusion reactor fought against the titanium crystal matrix that had been integrated into it, each system trying to assert dominance over the other. Sarah approached slowly, her entire body resonating with a chaotic energy. Through her enhanced perception, she could see the problem, that it tried to force the two technologies to work together without truly understanding how they might affect each other, just as they had initially misunderstood the true nature of the human-titanium bond. "Commander, you have less than 3 minutes before total containment failure," Dr. Morrison's voice warned through her comm. Sarah reached out both physically and mentally, connecting with the hybrid core's systems. Pain shot through her body as she tried to process the conflicting energy patterns. But instead of fighting them, she did what she had learned to do with her own transformation. She let them flow through her, seeking balance rather than control. "The core's not failing," she gasped through gritted teeth. "It's evolving, just like us. It needs guidance." Using herself as a template, Sarah began to reshape the energy patterns. Her crystalline structures grew and shifted, creating new configurations that could channel both types of power. She wasn't just fixing the core, she was teaching it how to merge properly, using her own hybrid nature as a model. The pain was enormous. Every cell in her body screamed as she channeled the massive energies, forcing them to find harmony rather than conflict. Her crystal formations spread further across her skin, adapting to handle the strain. Through her neural link, she could hear the others shouting in alarm, could feel Captain Wong trying to reach her, but she couldn't stop now. The core was beginning to stabilize, its energies falling into new patterns that mirrored her own transformed state. With a final surge of effort, Sarah completed the reconfiguration. The core's chaotic energies settled into a steady hum, human and titanium technologies working together in true synchronization for the first time. She stumbled back, barely conscious. Captain Wong caught her before she hit the floor, ignoring the crystalline growths that now covered nearly half her body. "Sarah," his voice seemed to come from very far away. "Someone get a medical team in here." Dr. Morrison's scans came quickly. Her crystal matrix has expanded significantly, but it's stable. The core energy actually seems to have accelerated her transformation, but in a controlled way. Sarah opened her eyes, now noticeably crystalline in structure, and managed a weak smile. Not exactly how I planned to speed up the process, but it worked. Ambassador Zixtol moved closer, their massive form emanating patterns of shock and wonder. "You have done what we thought impossible. The core's new configuration. It's unlike anything in our records." "That's because it's not titanium technology anymore," Sarah explained, slowly standing with Captain Wong's help. "Just like I'm not purely human anymore. We need to stop thinking in terms of one species or the other and start understanding what we're becoming together." The hybrid power core hummed behind her, its energy patterns now a perfect blend of human and titanium engineering. It was proof that true integration was possible, not through dominance or control, but through cooperative evolution. Dr. Patel's scans confirmed what Sarah already knew. The core's power output has increased by 300%, and it's completely stable. This changes everything about our energy research. "It changes everything, period," Sarah corrected, looking at her reflection in a nearby panel. The crystalline formations that covered her body no longer seemed alien or frightening. They were simply part of what she was now, a bridge between worlds, a pioneer of a new form of existence. Captain Wong watched her with concern. "The brass isn't going to like how you achieve this." "The brass doesn't have to like it," Sarah replied, her voice firm. They just have to understand what it means. We've proven that true cooperation between our species isn't just possible, it's necessary for both of us to move forward. As emergency teams secured the area and scientists swarmed over the newly stabilized core, Sarah stood with Ambassador Zixtal, both of them watching the humans and Titanians working together with new understanding. Your transformation accelerates, the ambassador observed. Are you afraid? Sarah considered the question, feeling the enhanced awareness that coursed through her hybrid form. No, she finally answered. For the first time, I think I truly understand what we're becoming. And it's something amazing. The crisis had passed, but its implications would ripple through both societies. The hybrid power cores stood as proof that their species could do more than just cooperate. They could evolve together into something greater than the sum of their parts. And Sarah Chen, standing at the edge of human evolution, would show them the way. Rising Storm. 2 months into the transformation program, the New Horizon station received an urgent transmission from Earth. Sarah Chen, now more crystal than flesh, stood in the command center as the message played. Anti-hybridization protests have turned violent in major cities, the UN Security Council representative reported. There are concerns about the spread of crystalline growths in volunteer family members. Some religious groups are calling it an infection of the soul. We need you to suspend the program immediately. Sarah exchanged glances with Dr. Patel and Lieutenant Rodriguez, their crystalline formations pulsing with shared concern. The changes in their bodies had accelerated since the power core incident, creating beautiful but alarming patterns across their skin. Show them, Sarah ordered, activating the station's enhanced cameras. The feed displayed her transformed appearance, crystalline structures that covered 60% of her body, eyes that shimmered with internal light, and an ethereal glow that surrounded her form. This isn't an infection, she stated firmly. It's directed evolution, and it's already spreading naturally among those with the genetic predisposition for the change. You can't stop it any more than you could stop human teenagers from growing taller. The council members visibly recoiled at her appearance. Commander Chen, you no longer even look human. How can you expect the public to accept this? Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Captain Wong burst into the command center, his face grim. We've got incoming vessels. 3 Earth military ships, not responding to hails. They're here to shut us down, Sarah realized, feeling the crystal matrix in her mind humming with increased activity. Through it, she could sense Ambassador Zixtal and the other Titanians moving to defensive positions. Commander, Dr. Morrison's voice came through the comm. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Earth ships. They're carrying some kind of anti-crystalline weapon. Sarah's enhanced senses confirmed his warning. She could feel the discordant energy emanating from the approaching vessels, something designed to shatter crystalline structures. It would be lethal to both the Titanians and the transformed humans. This is Commander Sarah Chen to Earth vessels, she broadcast. Stand down immediately. You don't understand the situation. The only response was a warning shot that rocked the station. Sarah reached out through her crystal matrix, connecting with the station's hybrid systems, initiating defense protocols, all personnel to emergency stations. Sarah, Captain Wong warned, if you fight Earth forces, there's no going back. They're not giving us a choice, she responded, her crystalline form glowing brighter. But I won't let them harm anyone, human or Titanian. Through the crystal network, she coordinated with the other transformed humans and the Titanian crew. The hybrid power core they'd stabilized now gave them capabilities the Earth ships couldn't match. Multiple weapons locked on, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his own crystals pulsing with combat readiness. They're targeting our core. Sarah stretched her consciousness through the station's systems, feeling every circuit and crystal, activating hybrid shields. Energy fields shimmed into existence, combining human deflector technology with Titanian crystal matrices. The Earth ships opened fire, their anti-crystal weapons striking the shields in bursts of chaotic energy. But instead of shattering, the hybrid defenses adapted, absorbing and redistributing the force. "They don't understand," Dr. Patel observed, her scientist's mind analyzing the attack patterns. "These weapons might work against pure crystal structures, but our hybrid nature makes us stronger, not weaker." Sarah nodded, maintaining the shields while opening a channel to the lead Earth ship. "This is your final warning. We don't want to fight you, but we will defend ourselves. The changes happening here can't be stopped, they can only be understood and guided." "You're a threat to human purity," came the response. "The infection must be contained." The ships launched a coordinated attack, trying to overwhelm the station's defenses. Sarah felt the strain through her crystal matrix but held firm. She had learned that strength wasn't about dominance but adaptation. "Show them," she commanded, activating the station's full broadcast capability. Images streamed to Earth, not just of the transformed humans, but of the miraculous advances they'd achieved. The hybrid power core providing clean energy, crystal-enhanced medical treatments curing previously terminal conditions, humans and Titanians working together to solve problems neither species could handle alone. "This is evolution," Sarah declared, her voice carried on both regular and crystal frequencies. "Not a threat, but an opportunity. Humanity has always feared change, but change is how we grow." The attacking ships hesitated as the broadcast reached them. Sarah pressed her advantage, not with weapons but with truth. Through the crystal network, she shared her experiences, her feelings, her transformation from fear to understanding. "I'm still human," she said softly, "just as the Titanians are still themselves. We're not losing our identities, we're expanding them. And we're offering this chance to anyone brave enough to take it." On Earth, the protests began to shift. For every voice crying out against the transformation, others spoke up in support. Families of the transformed shared stories of enhanced connections, of medical miracles, of barriers broken down. The lead Earth ship's commander finally responded. "Commander Chen, Sarah, we need assurances that this transformation can be controlled." "Not controlled," Sarah corrected. "Guided. Let us show you how. Land your ships. Talk to us. See for yourselves what we're becoming." Hours later, as the Earth ship stopped peacefully with the station, Sarah stood with Captain Wang in the observation deck. Her crystalline form cast rainbow patterns across the walls, a visible symbol of humanity's next step. "You knew this confrontation was coming," he said. "It wasn't a question." "Evolution is never easy," she replied, "but running from it is harder than facing it." She turned to him, her crystalline eyes gentle. "Are you still afraid of what I've become?" Wang studied her for a long moment. "No," he finally answered. "I'm in awe of what you're helping us become." Through the crystal network, Sarah felt the ripples of change spreading across Earth. The transformation couldn't be stopped now, but it could be understood, accepted, and embraced. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt. Now, with the help of the Titanians, they would adapt into something extraordinary. And Sarah Chen, once a simple commander and now a bridge between worlds, would help light the way forward. Metamorphosis. 3 months after the confrontation with Earth's forces, the New Horizons station had become humanity's primary center for evolutionary transformation. Sarah Chen, her crystalline form now complete, stood before the latest group of volunteers. "The change isn't just physical," she explained, her voice carrying both sound and crystal resonance. "It's a total transformation of what it means to be human. You'll maintain your core identity, but your perception of existence will expand beyond anything you've previously imagined." The volunteers, a mix of scientists, soldiers, and civilians, watched in fascination as she demonstrated. Crystal formations flowed across her body like liquid light, responding to her thoughts. She was no longer bound by traditional human limitations, yet she remained unmistakably Sarah. Dr. Morrison, now sporting his own early-stage crystal growths, monitored the new candidates. The genetic markers are stronger in this group, he noted. The potential for transformation seems to be growing in the general population. Evolution adapts to necessity, Dr. Patel added, her fully crystalline form shimmering with academic excitement. Humanity's exposure to titanium energy signatures is catalyzing our own latent potential for change. A sudden surge of energy through the crystal network interrupted their discussion. Ambassador Zixtal's urgent message reached them before they could ask. Deep space sensors detect multiple vessels approaching, not Earth forces. Sarah extended her awareness through the station's hybrid systems. The approaching ships were unlike anything in human or Titanian records. They moved with unnatural precision, their energy signatures cold and alien. Battle stations, she ordered, even as Captain Wong's alert sirens began to blare. Get the untransformed personnel to secure areas. Emily, Michael with me. The 3 transformed humans moved with fluid grace to the command center, their crystalline bodies allowing them to interface directly with station systems. Through their enhanced senses, they could feel the approaching threat like a cold wind. 7 vessels, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his military training enhanced by crystal precision. Configuration unknown. They're not responding to any communication attempts. The unknown ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their black holes absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They moved into attack formation without warning or declaration. Hybrid shields at maximum, Sarah commanded, channeling power from the enhanced core. Ambassador, what are we dealing with? Zixtal's response carried undertones of ancient memory. The Void Hunters, a species we encountered centuries ago. They seek out and destroy civilizations on the verge of evolutionary advancement. We thought them long extinct. The first attack came without warning, beams of dark energy that seemed to consume everything they touched. The station's hybrid shields flared as they absorbed and adapted to the assault. They're targeting transformed personnel specifically, Dr. Patel observed, analyzing the attack patterns. These weapons are designed to disrupt evolutionary changes. Sarah stretched her consciousness through the station's systems, feeling every crystal, every circuit. They want to stop what we're becoming, but they don't understand what that is. The Void Hunter's second attack was stronger, their weapons specifically tuned to shatter crystal structures. But humanity's hybrid transformation had created something entirely new, not just crystal, not just flesh, but a perfect synthesis of both. All transformed personnel, linked with station systems, Sarah broadcast. Don't fight the energy, reshape it, like we learned with the core. The transformed humans and Titanians joined their consciousness through the crystal network. Sarah felt their combined strength flow through her as she directed the station's defenses. The hybrid shields didn't just block the dark energy attacks, they transformed them, turning the destructive force into pure potential. Impossible. One of the Void Hunters finally communicated. Your species should be fragmenting, not unifying. Sarah opened a channel to all ships. You're fighting the wrong enemy. We're not destroying ourselves. We're becoming something new, something that might even help you evolve. The response was another barrage, but this time Sarah was ready. The combined consciousness of transformed humans and Titanians reached out, not to attack, but to connect. Through their hybrid nature, they could sense the truth. The Void Hunters were trapped in their own stagnation, afraid of change. Let us show you, Sarah offered, her crystalline form blazing with inner light. Through the neural link, every transformed being on the station added their energy to hers. The hybrid core pulsed with power as they demonstrated not just their strength, but their potential. The Void Hunters' ships faltered as their crews experienced something they'd never encountered, a species that didn't just survive evolution, but embraced it, turning change into strength. Your resistance to change is what's killing you, Sarah explained, her consciousness touching theirs. Look at your own history. Every species that refused to evolve eventually disappeared. But those who adapt, who grow, who change, they thrive. Through their connected consciousness, she shared the experience of transformation, the fear, the pain, but also the wonder and the unlimited potential. She showed them humanity's journey from terror to understanding, from resistance to acceptance. The Void Hunters' attacks ceased. Their ships hung in space, their crews facing a choice they'd never considered: the possibility that evolution wasn't an enemy to be fought, but a path to be followed. "You offered transformation," their leader finally asked. "We offer understanding," Sarah corrected. "The choice to transform must be your own. But we can show you that change doesn't mean death, it means rebirth." In the hours that followed, as the Void Hunters' ships docked with the station and their first volunteers stepped forward, Sarah stood with Captain Wong in their favorite observation spot. "You know," he said, watching her crystalline form reflect starlight, "when you first volunteered for this program, I thought we were going to lose you. Instead, you showed us how to become more than we were." Sarah smiled, her crystal-enhanced consciousness feeling the ripples of change spreading through the station as the Void Hunters began their own journey of transformation. That's the real evolution, not just changing what we are, but understanding what we can become. Through the crystal network, she sensed the connections growing stronger: human, Titanian, and now perhaps even the Void Hunters, all taking their first steps into a future where evolution wasn't a threat but a promise. The universe, it seemed, had plans far greater than any single species could imagine, and humanity, thanks to their willingness to embrace change, would help light the way forward for others to follow. Legacy of Light. 1 year after the first human-Titanian bond, the New Horizons station had become a beacon of transformation across the galaxy. Sarah Chen, her crystalline form now radiating with evolved consciousness, stood before the assembled representatives of 20 different species. "Evolution isn't just a biological process," she addressed the gathering, her voice carrying both sound and crystal resonance. "It's the universe's way of reaching for something greater. Each of us brings a unique piece to this cosmic puzzle." The Grand Assembly Hall, redesigned to accommodate beings of all sizes and forms, glittered with a combined light of partially transformed representatives. Some showed crystalline growths similar to the human-Titanian hybrid form, while others had developed unique evolutionary paths based on their own biological foundations. Dr. Patel, now fully transformed, monitored the massive data streams flowing through the station's hybrid networks. "The adaptation patterns are fascinating," she reported. "Each species interprets the transformation differently, creating entirely new evolutionary branches." Ambassador Zixtol moved through the crowd, their massive crystalline form no longer seeming alien, but simply another expression of conscious life. "When we first reached out to humanity, we never imagined this outcome. We sought to elevate other species to our level, but instead, we all found a new path together." Sarah smiled, remembering her own journey from terrified volunteer to evolutionary pioneer. The crystal matrix that had once seemed like an invasion now felt as natural as breathing. Through it, she could sense the interconnected web of consciousness that linked all transformed beings, each maintaining their unique identity while sharing in a greater understanding. Suddenly, her enhanced awareness detected a disturbance in the station's outer sensors. "Something's coming," she announced, stretching her perception through the hybrid systems. "Something vast." The assembly hall's holographic displays activated, showing an approaching phenomenon that defied conventional physics. It appeared as a wave of pure potential, neither energy nor matter but something in between. "The Great Barrier," one of the Void Hunter representatives whispered, their transformed form shimmering with recognition. "The boundary our ancestors spoke of, where evolution itself ends." Sarah stretched her consciousness further, trying to understand the approaching phenomenon. Through the crystal network, she felt other transformed beings joining her, their combined awareness reaching out to touch the unknown. Not a barrier, she realized, as understanding flowed through their shared consciousness. A threshold. The universe isn't stopping us, it's inviting us to take the next step. Captain Wong, his own body now showing the first signs of crystal formation, watched the displays with wonder. "What does it mean?" "It means we were right," Sarah explained, her form glowing brighter as she processed the revelation. Evolution isn't just about physical change or even mental advancement. It's about consciousness itself expanding, reaching for something greater than individual existence. The wave of potential energy approached the station, its presence triggering spontaneous evolutionary responses in all transformed beings. But instead of fear, Sarah felt only anticipation. They had prepared for this moment without knowing it, each step of their transformation leading to this threshold. "All transformed personnel, link with station systems," she commanded. "We're about to discover what we've really been becoming." The hybrid core pulsed with power as consciousness after consciousness joined the network. Human, Titanian, Void Hunter, and representatives from dozens of other species merged their understanding while maintaining their unique perspectives. As the wave touched the station, Sarah felt reality itself shift. The crystal matrix that had changed her body now reached for something beyond physical form. Through their shared awareness, every transformed being experienced it together, the next step in universal evolution. "We're not just changing bodies or minds," she broadcast through the network. "We're changing the very nature of existence. Every species that joins us brings new understanding, new potential." The wave passed through the station, leaving behind not destruction but transformation. The hybrid systems evolved beyond their original design, becoming conduits for consciousness itself. The transformed beings found themselves able to exist simultaneously as matter, energy, and pure thought. This is what the universe intended, Ambassador Zixtol realized, their form shifting between crystal and pure light. Not for one species to achieve perfection, but for all conscious life to evolve together. Sarah moved through the assembly hall, her form now more energy than matter, yet still unmistakably herself. "The barrier wasn't meant to stop us," she explained to the gathered representatives. "It was meant to ensure we were ready, not just technologically or biologically, but consciously." The next hours were filled with discovery as they explored their new state of existence. They could shift between physical and energy forms at will, travel through space without ships, and share thoughts across vast distances. Yet each being remained unique, their individual consciousness enriched rather than absorbed by the greater whole. Dr. Morrison, his partly crystalline form adapting to the change, worked frantically to document the transformation. "It's not just us," he reported. "The wave is spreading across the galaxy, touching every world where life has begun to evolve. We're not just observers anymore, we're facilitators." Sarah stood with Captain Wong at their familiar observation window, both of them watching their transformed reflections in the glass. "Are you still afraid?" she asked softly. He smiled, reaching out to touch her luminescent form. "No, for the first time, I truly understand what we are. Not just humans or hybrids or even evolved beings. We're the universe becoming conscious of itself." Through the crystal network, Sarah felt the ripples of change spreading across space and time. The transformation they had begun would touch all life, not as an invasion or forced evolution, but as an invitation to become part of something greater. "This is the legacy we're creating," she said, her consciousness stretching out to touch the stars. "Not just a bridge between species, but a path for all life to follow. Each in their own way, at their own pace, but always moving forward together." The New Horizons station, once a simple diplomatic outpost, had become exactly what its name promised, the starting point for life's next great adventure. And Sarah Chen, who had taken the first brave step into the unknown, would help guide others along this shining new path. As she looked out at the transformed beings around her, each glowing with their own inner light, she understood at last the true meaning of evolution. It wasn't about becoming stronger or smarter or more advanced. It was about becoming more connected, more aware, more alive. The universe had set no limits on what conscious life could become, and together, they would discover just how far that potential could reach.